Good morning, welcome. Thanks so much to all of you for being with us this morning. Really excited to have you with us to tune into this sixth segment in our new series of Friday morning gatherings as we highlight innovative education leaders, cutting edge education ideas from all across Tennessee. And despite many of the challenges that we know families, students, and educators are facing during the pandemic, we've really been impressed by how K-12 education, post-secondary education leaders are really responding, and also how they remain firmly focused on creating even greater opportunities for students, both now and in the future. And in the spirit of SCORE's commitment in our mission that we really work to catalyze innovative change, and in our core values as an organization that many of the most difficult challenges in education can be solved through creative and innovative solutions, we want to highlight innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders from all across our state who are really leading the way for students. So our goal each week is to pick a single topic, a single cutting edge idea, and do a deep dive to quickly learn more, to hear from leading entrepreneurs, innovators, educators, and hopefully to trigger some thoughts or ideas that you can take away and apply in your own daily work. I know how busy everyone is, so our goal is to keep these sessions brief and informal, and we'll be taking questions later in the conversation. So feel free to just add any questions that you have to the chat box as we go, and we'll get to as many as we can. So let's get right to it. I'm really excited this morning to welcome Kariem-Abdul Salaam, the director of Project M.O.S.T at Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis, to learn about the amazing and cutting edge work that they're doing to increase the retention and completion rates among African-American male students. Kariem has worked at Southwest for nearly 30 years, serving as an assistant professor, as director of the Workforce Development Center, and as a college retention specialist, before becoming the director, of Project M.O.S.T. He earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education and teaching from Alabama A&M before earning his master's in leadership and policy studies from the University of Memphis. Please join me in welcoming Kariem-Abdul Salaam. And Kariem, why don't you start off maybe by sharing some of the kind of overview information about the original need, the vision, the history of Project M.O.S.T, and then the success you all are seeing since its launch of the program, and any sort of key highlights that you would want to make sure folks know. Kariem, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, David. First of all, let me express my appreciation for you inviting me to take part in this particular program. We're happy to do that and share whatever ideas that we've been able to develop and put them into practice with any other organizations who are trying to serve this similar population. You know, we are contracted with the U.S. Department of Education through their PBI initiative, PBI standing for predominantly Black institutions, to actually increase the outcomes of African-American males. Of course, it's no secret for quite a while now, African-American males, as far as statistics show, have not been performing as well as other ethnic groups or gender groups. And we understand that in order for this country to stay competitive globally, that everyone has to come to the table and contribute something in a positive manner. So this is what we have set out to do. There are quite a few statistics out there, some which I consider deficit thinking in their approach, because they only highlight the weaknesses and the lack of accomplishment, while we try to take a different approach, what we call a strength-based approach, and address some of those innate qualities that each African-American and human being, for that matter, has. As you see on the screen, we have our motto is "Man means mind." Well, we wanted to first emphasize to our students what a man really is, you know, because they come to the table with all kind of ideas about what is a man. And I know from inner city, urban areas who have to deal with some of the stress that goes on in the community on a day-to-day basis, their concept of man is really not consistent with what the human being man really is. So we use this title and we explain it to them when they come in, because what we're trying to do is change mindsets. You know, We don't want them to come into this program thinking that to be a man is to be 6'4", 340 pounds, can beat up everybody in the neighborhood. That's not the concept. So we want them to understand that to be a man is to be a thinker, first and foremost. And we demonstrate that by showing them the definition of what man is. I use the etymology online dictionary to back up that phrase. And it tells you that man comes from a root men that means to think. So this kind of sets the pace for what we're trying to do. And at the same time, it kind of takes race out of the picture because it establishes equality across the thinking, you know. So we also take a look, and I want to share with you some of the needs based on what's happening in Shelby County and in the surrounding area. First of all, Southwest Tennessee Community College, if you could advance to the next slide, please. Yeah, it shows the kind of area that we're serving. And some of the things that's mentioned here, 650,000 residents that we're trying to serve at Southwest. And we have spread campus locations all across this area where students can reach us. And as a program, we serve every campus and every center. You know, so all of the students that go to Southwest, or especially the African-American males, have access to our services, no matter which campus location that they're on. Please go to the next slide. What it shows here, and I think is very, very profound, because I have such a short time to explain this, I'm going to go on to the graphic. And I have highlighted where it says Black students. Well, 62% of the student body at Southwest are made up of Black students or African-American students. And when I look also, I compare that to the population of Memphis. It's a similar number in percentage-wise. I think Memphis is about, based on the data that I was able to pull down, 64.1% African-American, which is very comparable to this situation. And so just following the logic in my mind, if you're able to increase the outcomes of African-Americans, you're also able to increase the outcomes for the whole college. Not only the college, but also the city and the surrounding area. You can improve their condition, it will improve the condition of the whole city, the whole county. And as this illustrates, if you look at the comparison, 62% of Southwest students are Black students compared to just 8% statewide. To me, that's very, very significant because it puts Shelby County in a position when you look at the poverty levels and all of those things, mostly affected by that are African-American people, you know. And I was very, very impressed by one of your episodes with Mr. Cisnet, Dr. Cisnet, where he uses the Maslow hierarchy of needs as kind of his foundation, because we also use that, you know. But from the standpoint of dealing with just individual human beings, when you think of a person not being able to get above those basic needs and those psychological needs to get on to the level of self-actualization, you're going to look at some disengagement, because anybody who's struggling with poverty, basic needs, psychological needs, they're not going to be as engaged in the learning process as someone who doesn't have to deal with those type issues. So that puts Shelby County, when I look at the distribution of the population, at a kind of a disadvantage. So my understanding about what has to be done is that we have to change the mindset, put the focus on the right things in order for these students to be successful. And that's been our attempt, for, I guess, the last almost 9 years now, or 10 years, almost 10 years. It was 10 years this semester. As we started October, we got funding in 2011, October 2011, and we implemented the program in March of 2012. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. Just to talk about our program description is what I was referring to. We see ourselves really as having a demonstrated success model, and we've consistently met the goals in terms of recruitment, retention, graduation efforts of African American males. We are actually contracted to serve about 130 African American males in this per academic year under this contract. But one of the things that I'm hoping that will come out of this is that the model that we use, if it can work for this group of 130, it can be scaled to work across campuses, not only Southwest, but any campus that actually employs this method. And we are very happy to share what we do in hopes that other people can get the kind of results that we've been getting so far, even under these adverse conditions. I've listed here retention data for over the last 9 years is about 72%. And when I look at national figures, we're looking at somewhere between 51 to 52%. So when you make that kind of comparison, especially for what they call the disadvantaged population of African American males, that's rather significant, and we're hoping that it will get even better. We know that due to the pandemic, especially the fall 2020 semester, our enrollment had a severe decline, and it really hit the African American male population. I think for that semester, there were close to maybe 900 students that did not return. I'm talking African American males that did not return. But we were fortunate as a program that we actually, our retention increased as opposed to decreasing. The previous academic year, it was like, it had dropped 67%. That was the academic year 2019, 2020. But for 2020, 2021, the data revealed that we had a rate of 70.4, which I was very pleased with in light of the circumstances, because we could have been hit much, much worse. But I think part of what we do with the students had an impact on that, in my opinion. And we also look at in the graduation rate, I was very pleased with. In 2019, 20 rather, it was 91%. And the next year for 2021, it did drop slightly to 83%. But while graduation dropped, retention increased. So we're hoping to see that kind of blend out for the next academic year. But these are the kind of things that we're doing with them. As we mentioned earlier, everyone has to be at the table. So we put that responsibility on the students to let them know you have a responsibility to stick and stay in this program and to graduate. That's foremost. And that if you go to the next slide, please, which highlights our vision and our mission statement. We actually go over this statement, and not only the statement, but the core values. This whole slide is gone over bi-weekly when we have our bi-weekly, what we call success meetings, because that's where we put the focus. So they're hearing this constantly. Persistence, graduation, retention efforts, over and over again. We look at our core values, continuous improvement, meaning that there's a relentless pursuit to constantly improve yourself. Self-excellence, service excellence, accountability. And we tell them that we are going to hold you accountable, and we ask that you hold us accountable as well in responding to your needs. Commitment, enthusiasm, integrity, and team. But this is what it's all about. This is what we rehearse with them from day to day. On this next slide, it kind of shows the benefits of the program. And one of the main things I like to highlight is our case management model approach. We use a combination of appreciative and intrusive case management. And this little graphic on the side kind of shows what the appreciative model is really all about. Well, we actually get the student, this is more or less to build relationship. When it says disarm, it means to take away any fears or preconceived notions they may have about being advised, because all students don't come in trusting you. It takes time to build a relationship, and you can't do an effective job of counseling and advising if the trust factor is not there. So we put a lot of emphasis on building that trust. And then after building the trust, we try to discover what is it that the student really wants to do. You know, a lot of students come that door just because their parents said, you got to go to college. But what does the student want to do? We have to find that out, because if they're not really engaged in what they're in, very unlikely that they're going to be successful at it. And we also inquire about their dreams. What is it that you want for the future? Then we look at a way of designing a program to help them meet their needs and to deliver on that program and put in their minds, never settle for less than what you can do. You know, so that's part of that appreciative. Intrusive is just stepping in when we see signs that the student may be having academic difficulty. And what we use to kind of test that, there's an academic progress report that they have to turn in every 2 weeks on the 15th and the last day of the month, signed by each one of their professors, to let us know where this student is standing. If there are a lot of absences or tardies and things like that, those are signs of academic difficulty. So we intervene. That's why we use the term intrusive. We have to be careful with that, because sometimes it carries a negative connotation. But without using the language, this is an action that's taking place. We're stepping in, looking. We also provide these support services like transportation assistance, academic coaching, and have some excellent tutors, monthly stipends. It's only $100 a month, but $100 for a student who does not have a job. I would have loved to have gotten $100 a month when I was in school. And so that's significant in terms of addressing poverty and those kind of things. Tuition assistance, we can help with scholarships that maybe a student does not qualify for FAFSA. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that. We'll step in with the resources to help him stay in school. And I mentioned about weekly success meeting because if you glance at the chart of Maslow's needs, he mentioned this need to be belonging, this sense of belonging. And that's what these meetings help us to get. The peers get together with each other and they feel like they're brothers, and they are in brotherhood, you know, and they arrive at this sense of belonging, and I can see the effect of it. Okay, and then we have the mentoring services and student community service, and giving back is one of the main things that we put a focus on. Okay, we'll go ahead and advance, please. Next, we address language environments. This is something that I think needs to be emphasized more across the board. These students come from various neighborhoods, backgrounds, where they see a lot of things going on that have an impact on them. And this ties back into our slogan, man means mind. One of the things I asked them, because I just want to hear their response on this question, what is a word? And I get so many different responses. But at the end of the day, what a word is anything that sends a message to your mind is a word. It doesn't have to be spoken or anything like that. Your body language can give off words, right? Your environment that you live in speaks to you. You know, if it's a bad environment, it's speaking to you, and it has an impact on your thinking, your behavior, and how you progress. So we have to make these things known so that students can be aware of them. Once awareness comes, then change can come about, you know. But that's the first step in change, they tell me, is awareness. We use this phrase that words make people. So those messages that go into your mind uh, control your behavior. They sometimes determine who you are. Okay, this is one of the programs that we use to reward the students. It's called the Men in Black Annual Award Ceremony. We do this every year during the month of February. We saw it as good as tying it into uh, African American History Month as an activity, and the whole college looks forward to that activity. And this particular awards program is based on how well the student does the prior fall semester. So awards are given in three categories: GPAs from 2.5 to 2.99. That's academic achievement. From 3.0 to 3.99 is academic excellence. And of course, 4.0, which is the top GPA, we call it the Black Diamond Award. So it's coveted, you know, so all of the students want to get to that Black Diamond level. And it creates kind of a positive competition as well, which keeps them striving and engaged throughout the year. So this is just a picture of one of our Men in Black ceremonies where we all got together. Okay, next slide, please. This is kind of giving you an idea of where we're actually trying to take the program in a different direction, or not a different, but an add-on. It's called the M.O.S.T Entrepreneurship Institute, which we established, I think, in November of 2020. And we're so grateful for the funding that we received from SCORE that actually supports this activity. We saw that, well, actually, it may have occurred back in 2013, was our first move toward entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship mindset among the students. Of course, the COVID kind of messed with that as well for a while, but we're still on track to make this happen. One of the things that we have found out is quoted by the World Economic Forum is that the skills needed for the 21st century relate to entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking. So we're trying to stay in line with where things are headed. They listed some of those skills, and I got them here: critical and creative thinking. We put a lot of emphasis on thinking critically and how to think critically. We've actually, the last couple of sessions that we've had has been related to critical thinking. Effective problem solving, that's a part of entrepreneurial thinking. A good entrepreneur looks for problems to solve. And that's what this curriculum tells them. It teaches them how to do that. Communication, collaboration, lifelong learning. And then there's other skill that's being dealt with, entrepreneurial skills. I see them as really being innate qualities in every human being. Curiosity. Every baby comes into the world curious, wants to know things, you know. They're so curious, sometimes it gets them in a little trouble, you know? But that's a part of their nature. But if you take that same child and every time they ask you a question, you tell them, don't ask me nothing. Stop all that asking, stop asking me all those questions. But pretty soon you're going to diminish that innate quality of curiosity. And curiosity actually leads to creativity. So what do you do to that child? You stifle their creativity, which in turn stifles their growth. So we enhance that. We try to encourage that. We try to restore all of these: curiosity, initiative, persistence, grit. Actually, in our awards program, we give 3 grit awards, you know, for the people who may not make that 2.5, but they're striving hard, you know. So that encourages them. It keeps them going. We look at adaptability. You know, we teach them you have to adapt to your current environment and adopt a way to keep moving forward. Leadership skills, we teach that all the time. That's a part of our regular curriculum. And the next slide, I'm getting to the end, so we can, hopefully I'm in a good time frame with you. So we use this book, Who Owns the Ice House? And actually, this kind of helps explain our direction toward entrepreneurial thinking and entrepreneurial mindset. This book was written by Mr. Clifton Talbot. Well, when I first mentioned to my academic leadership team members in a meeting what we were trying to do, one of the individuals, one of the deans, asked me, have you ever heard of Clifton Talbot? I said, no, I couldn't remember hearing about him, but once I found out who he was, I remember the film that was made based on his life. It starred a lot of Richard Roundtree, I think, played in that movie. Her name Rashad, Felicia Rashad, she starred in it. But this movie was about his life and this uncle that he had that influenced him so much. Now, Clifton Talbot is a world-renowned entrepreneur, author. You know, he's a Pulitzer Prize nominated author. When I heard of him, I looked up his information and I emailed him. We had never engaged each other before. But when I told him what we were trying to do with Project M.O.S.T, and I invited him to be our keynote speaker to kick off this Entrepreneurship Institute, in less than an hour, I got an email reply back saying that yes, he would do it. And that fostered a good relationship. We have become friends based off of this piece. But the core of what this curriculum involves are these 8 life lessons: choice, opportunity, action, knowledge. With every individual, every human being is born with the ability to make choices. And that's what separates us from just regular animal life. You know, they rule by instinct, we can make choices. Then it goes on to talk about wealth, brand, community, and persistence. These 8 life lessons are not only good for somebody who's trying to go into business, it's also good for a student who's trying to attain a degree. If they can develop these life skills, it will take them wherever they want to go. So that pretty much ends our presentation here. And like I tell the students, if you want to get ahead, take Project M.O.S.T. It will take you there. Okay. Thank you so much.
Kareem, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation and really, really interested in this work, and appreciate the time going through all the work that's happening at Southwest. I've got a couple questions, but also want to encourage folks who are joining us, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat box and we'll make sure to tee them up for Kareem. Maybe just to start, Kareem, you talked a little bit about the kind of unique challenges that exist for African-American male students at Southwest, but would love it if you could talk a little bit more about sort of what those challenges look like from a retention and completion perspective. You know, we know that there's, you know, to the data that you showed earlier, we know that there's a gap, there's a difference there in terms of the retention and completion rates, and just wonder why you think that is, and what are maybe some of the most important parts of this program that seek to address some of those gaps.
Yeah, well, you know, I was reading some material just recently on the effect of poverty on your ability to achieve. And then I saw how Memphis is considered the poorest city in the United States, right here, Memphis, Tennessee. And I wouldn't have believed it, you know, seeing that. But now, after reading that data, I understand why especially our young men, but really not just men, it's women also. They're having so much difficulty in getting past this level of achievement that they seem to have stopped, you know, where the gap resides, you know. And so that's why we put so much emphasis on being able to step in with the stipends, with the tuition assistance, you know. If they qualify, and qualify for Pell also, then that's okay. We know that they need the money, and I think this is why the U.S. Department of Education allowed us to test these methods out, because most grants that you get are really nothing but research projects. They're trying to see what works and what doesn't work. And I think with our numbers, we've demonstrated that what we do works. But those are the kind of things that we step in with. But more than just the money, it's the thinking. You have to try to impact rather the mindset. You have to try to do that. So what we emphasize is no matter what your economic status is, you're a man, you have a mind, you can solve problems. We focus on all those things to help them get past that. And it's having some impact.
Could you talk, Kareem, a little bit about one of the things I think is unique about the program, and you could see this in the video from the Men in Black ceremony, or from the photo from the Men in Black ceremony, was that the program is really serving students of all ages. So you've got students who are coming into the program, right after high school graduation, and you also have students who are coming back to school after maybe having not been in an educational setting for 20 or more years. So what are some of the similarities between those two groups of students? Any particular differences, things that you have to do within the program to make sure that you're catering uniquely to the needs of students who are there, based on perhaps how long or how recently it's been since they were at an educational institution?
Yeah. What I found is that there's not very much difference, in serving them, because the needs are the same. Now what I try to do is take advantage of the positive sides of that. And one of the positive sides is a student coming in right out of high school, compared with a student who has maybe encountered some bad times in his life. He didn't take advantage of opportunities that came to him while he was young, but now has come to realize, I need this education. I'm going back. Well, in dealing with them, you're addressing a lot of things like fears. I hear a lot of testify, said, man, at first I didn't want to come back because I didn't think I could compete with these young students. And once they come back and actually see that they not only compete, they can excel in many cases. And I've seen them, we got solid evidence to show that that happens, because one advantage they have, life experience that the young student coming right out of high school doesn't have. And what we try to do, we use this peer-to-peer approach. So the older students actually can serve as peer mentors to help these guys not make the same mistakes that they made, but to go ahead and do what you have to do now. Since you have this golden opportunity, do it now. Don't make the mistake that I made. They say that experience is the best teacher, but I teach them other people's experience can be better than you making the same mistakes, So it serves to our advantage to have that mixed crowd, Yeah, so I think that most of the young students are not impacted by that. I think they see it as a benefit. Yeah.
Could you talk, Kareem, about the intersection between maybe Shelby County schools and this program? Is there any relationship there? Are you doing any recruitment, perhaps, of students at the high school level into the program? One of the things that we've been very interested in is, and that some of these sessions have talked about, is this connection and intersection between K-12 and post-secondary, and particularly high school and community college, and helping students make that transition more easily. So we'd be interested in any kind of partnership or relationships or conversations that you have from the K-12 perspective.
Yeah, well, we do have that experience. Again, COVID kind of interrupted that for this recent semester and the prior semester. But we have a relationship with in the city with Douglas High School, where we had dual enroll students, and the principal there allowed us to bring Project M.O.S.T into the school. Project M.O.S.T really was planned for first year students, but we got the permission to do this dual enrollment project to actually address these students while they were still in high school. offering them the same services that we offer to college students, and it worked very, very well. Since that time, the principal has changed at Douglas, and they had a different approach that we're working on now to try to reestablish that relationship. But what it showed was one of the things that's some of concern to some people at the college is that maybe these students, we put this effort in while they're still in high school, but they don't choose to come to Southwest. Well, in high school, they can go just about anywhere. We had one class that had all football players in that class. It just turned out that way. And these individuals found that some of them who were not performing as well academically, but had outstanding athletic skills, but they couldn't take advantage of the scholarships because the grades were not where they're supposed to be. And so it was a big plus to those students. What I told them is that you can come to Southwest, get your associate's degree, stay in physical shape, and once you leave, go to that college that you want to go to, where you've gotten your degree and you want to come on as a walk-on to earn your scholarship athletically. And that seemed to have worked for, I know at least 2 or 3 other guys who were in that class. And some of them ended up coming to Southwest anyway, so it worked out that well.
That's great. All right, we've got one other question which came in the chat, and then I'll close this with a final question. But one question that we got in the chat, Kareem, is whether you have any recommendations based on the work that's happening with Project M.O.S.T at Southwest to effectively serve Black male students at institutions that are predominantly serving white students. Are there any kind of lessons learned or recommendations that you might have for serving African-American students at other institutions that may look a little different than Southwest?
Yeah, I think the thing that's the common denominator, if they're Black, African-American in Memphis, Tennessee, they fall mostly within that certain range of low income, the majority of them, because that's what the data said. As Memphis being the poorest, when we look at Southwest serves at least 50% of the whole state population are low income, and they are at Southwest, 50% of them. So I think that even if you're not a student at Southwest, say you may be a student over at University of Tennessee, African American, you're still affected by a lot of these same issues. I don't know if the resources are already there. And I heard just recently that Baptist Memorial Hospital got a PBI award just like us, which I'm looking forward to. I was really excited to hear that because we were the only PBI institution in the state of Tennessee for these 10 years. And so now what I'm looking at is a possibility if we can link up, if we can partnership where we can create a pipeline of students who may be in nursing or whatever, some type of allied health field, and we have a number of them in our program, to create a pipeline for them to leave Southwest, go straight to Baptist Memorial Hospital and get the same type of services that they're getting here at Southwest. So that's something that really came across my radar when I saw that in the what is that, the Memphian, Daily Memphian. They released that yesterday. So that's an opportunity. That's the way I see it. Thinking entrepreneurially, that's opportunity. Okay. So yeah, I think that there's a lot that can be done, but it's going to take partnering. We're willing to share everything that we've learned over these years with anybody who's interested. And you can just contact me. I'll be happy to share it with you.
All right, last question. And Kareem, I've been asking this question to everybody who's joined us for these sessions, but it's to kind of look ahead a little bit and think about how education should look or should look different in 20 years. And would love for you to just share a couple of reflections about what you hope for, how you think education, either at the community college level or at the K-12 level, might look different or should look different 20 years from now?
Yeah, well, I would like to see just really more focus on the individual, the human being, as opposed to just numbers. I know it's hard when you're dealing with higher education, or even in K-12. You're judged by numbers. All of it's mostly quantitative data, but it's those qualitative things that really make the difference, that make you, and that's the approach that we have. A lot of our efforts are qualitative, so that we can get the kind of quantitative outcome that needs to be gotten. So that's what I would say. Focus on that human being. Teach more about language environments and how the environment speaks to you. Because right now, the environment is speaking louder than what they hear in the classroom. I heard Dr. Sisnet mention how in his childhood, how he grew up in a pretty negative environment and had to walk to this school that was nice school, but had to return right back to that negative environment and the impact that has. Well, see, those negative language environments are speaking to them all the time, and they kind of reside inside of them in their subconscious mind and gets in the way. Sometimes even when they want to do something better, their subconscious mind controls them more than the conscious mind. So I'd like to see more emphasis on that moving forward. And I think we will see more emphasis on it, so God willing, it'll all work out.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that. And I know we said we're going to keep these sessions to about 45 minutes or so and want to respect everyone's busy day on a Friday morning. But Kariem, just want to say thank you so much for being with us, for sharing the exciting work you're doing at Southwest. Really looking forward to staying updated with what I know will be even more exciting and important work looking ahead, and just really grateful for your time today. And just would share with folks who are joining us that before we close, I want to also invite you to join us again next Friday, same time, October 29th, when we'll actually go outside of our state and feature a national speaker for one of these conversations. Payman Rouhani Fard is the former director of public schools in Camden, New Jersey, a former Tennessean, and now the co-founder and CEO of Propel America will be joining us. Propel is an organization that's bringing together high schools, higher education institutions, and employers to really think about a unified system of skill building, job placement, and ongoing planning to help young adults, particularly those young adults from low-income areas, find greater education and career success. So hope you'll join us for that session next Friday. Look for the registration info soon over email, as well as a link to this morning's session that'll be on our YouTube page and also shared over email. Thanks to all of you again for joining us today. Hope you have a great day, a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.